This is the 2025 BMW Z4 M40i, and I know what you're thinking. It basically looks the same as it's looked for the last few years, and that's true. But that's because the big changes are inside, where finally BMW has added a 6-speed manual transmission. Alongside that, the company has made some chassis tweaks that it promises make this a more enjoyable roadster. In fact, at least on paper, this could be the enthusiast choice for a purist experience. But in a world where there are 5,700-pound M5s and whatever the heck the XM is, the big question is, what does that even mean? And does it matter? Well, we're gonna go for a drive and try and figure that out. Now let's talk styling, because as I joked before, the Z4 hasn't really changed much since it debuted 6 years ago. Now BMW did do a very subtle facelift a few years back, but let's be honest, if you weren't a fan of these sort of insectoid swept back headlights before, or the mustache of a grille, you're not likely to change your mind now. Personally, I think it is fantastically proportioned. I'm not sure if it's quite as good as that shark-like previous generation, but I do appreciate that this is back to being a proper soft top. Of course, for the Handschalter edition, the manual, you do get a few unique styling tweaks that just set it apart from the rest of the range. You get black mirror caps, a few other black highlights throughout the exterior and interior, but the big visual change is the addition of staggered wheels. So up front you have 19-inch wheels, but out back they are 20s. And that is a cue from other M products like the M2, 3, and 4. Around back is where the Z4 still looks like a concept car, at least to my eyes. It has these really thin headlights that just bleed up into the rear fenders. It has dashes of i8, which I still miss, RIP. Of course, BMW has also actually kept the twin exhaust setup for this M40i. It has not given the Z4 quad tips like the also not full M versions of the X1 and X2. I personally approve. Guys, I love this engine. It might go down as a future classic because, well, this is the best inline six in the field. Now I know it only has 382 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque, so it's not as powerful as an M car, but you know what? I would actually argue that this is the better tune for this engine because it's still plenty quick. We're talking 0 to 60 in basically 4 seconds with the manual, and it just has such silky smooth power delivery. It's lacking that explosive nature of the M products that I just feel better suits a roadster. And well, the other advantage too is you're lugging around a lot less weight. So the M2, right? The smallest, purest M model. Yeah, that thing's a couple 100 pounds heavier. This is 3,500 pounds all in, which is pretty okay for a modern vehicle. It's not Boxster light, but then again, it's bigger and a little cushier. Of course, it still sounds excellent. Right? But the big deal here, of course, is that it's paired to this 6-speed manual. And you know what? It is not the manual that we know from those M products. It's better. BMW has changed the bushings for this particular application, and the result is such a positive and friendly and easy to use manual transmission. It is a little rubbery through the gates, but so focused once it's locked in, and it's just so positive, and I love it. I just shift through the gears just for the sake of it. So it does have rev matching that I've got on right now, but you can turn that off. And of course, it's still pretty efficient too. Not that you're buying a $80,000 premium roadster for that, but still it's good to know that if you need to save some money on gas, the Z4 will take care of you. Now the tweaks to the suspension and other bits are not dramatic, but they are appreciated. Now there is a stiffer front anti-roll bar, the rear dampers have been tweaked, there are unique suspension settings for the manual model, a rejigged variable steering, adjusted traction control parameters, and of course those staggered wheels. The result is a setup that is noticeably sharper, and it's pretty fun to wind down a back road like this. It's not the absolute peak of sports car two-seater perfection, because look, if you want something that's truly involving, you're gonna go with a Boxster. But that being said, if you want the classic front engine approach, well, the Z4 delivers. It's really trustworthy and easy to understand on a back road like this. There are, of course, different drive modes, but there's not umpteen different levels of customization. You can make an individual mode, but it's pretty straightforward. I really enjoy this sport mode because, well, the suspension is just a little stiffer without being uncomfortable, and you get a nice sound from that exhaust. The Z4 is one of those cars that's so easy to place on the road because, well, it's a convertible, so I know exactly where the corners are. But also, it's because this variable steering is, well, not the most feelsome. It's pretty darn accurate, so I can get this car through some nice corners really easily, and it feels like it's enjoying itself, which is a pretty important part of a driver's car. Now I find it just a little funny that both the Z4 and the 8 Series continue on with BMW's older iDrive system. And that's not a bad thing, because while it isn't quite as snappy and stylish as the newer models or on as big of a screen, it is still really easy to use. So with the iDrive rotary dial, I can use the left menu. Just by default, when I turn on the car, I nudge up and I get this easy access mode up top, go back down, click to the right. I have multiple little tabs here to scroll through very easily. And of course, it's all touchscreen too, so I can just swing through if I need to. There's not a ton of tiles that I have to dig through. And of course, the major advantage of sticking with this older setup is that you still have physical controls for your climate down here, included heated seats, no ventilation, which I'm a little sad about. But then, of course, if you're the type of person who really loves setting radio presets, you have 8 options here. You've got a ton of what you need. It's the story lower down in the center console that I'm just not loving. So, to sum it up, the Z4 just doesn't utilize its space as effectively as it could. Yes, there is a wireless charger here, and that's great, and I do appreciate a single USB-A port. I know it's just one, but hey, this is a two-seater. How many more devices are you planning on charging? It's the placement of the cup holders that just drives me nuts, because they are right in line with where your elbow will be while you're using the shifter. And, well, this is a manual. You're going to be doing that a lot. The problem is that it's too compromised. If you want to use either cup holder, it means opening the right side of the lid, and that means your passenger won't have anywhere to rest their elbow. Now, admittedly, the left side is smaller, and you can fold that down and keep the cup holders open, so you can rest your elbow while shifting. It's just going to be jammed up right against your side. Say you're heading home because it's been a long day of having fun, and that's where this does a good job of that dual personality thing. You want to be a grand tour? Sure, I'm going under 31 miles per hour or 50 kilometers an hour, and I will just I'll just raise the roof now because it's a sunset and I just want to avoid the mosquitoes of this late summer day, and there we go. We're done in just a couple seconds. Pretty simple. And if I've changed my mind and I want to feel the cool air because, oh, winter is long, well, same speed limit. As long as you're under 50 kilometers an hour or 31 miles per hour, you can do this. Oh, we're done. Okay, great. I'm gonna go a little quicker now. The Z4 is either stuck between two spots or the ideal blend of two, depending on your perspective, where it's got a little bit of Grand Tourer feel, but it's not as big and cushy as something like a 4 Series convertible or an 8 Series nowadays. So it does have a more spacious interior than the Boxster. It's not necessarily more practical because the Boxster does have 2 trunks. But this one is bigger, again, because BMW made that decision years ago to go with a soft top. It doesn't eat up a ton of space like that hard top did. It's, well, a pretty darn good all-round car. I don't know why this wasn't like this to begin with. I really don't. BMW, you've done a great job here. All right, so I've gone this long without talking about price, and that's because that's where the argument for the Z4 manual, as fabulous as it is, gets tougher. Simply put, it's just too expensive. Now in America, just the Honschalter package alone on the M40i puts the sticker at $71,125 including destination, or enough to grab that 473 horsepower M2 and check off a few options. Add on the matte paint, the driver assist, and even the wireless charger, and the price tag is just north of $77,000. Now Canadians get the manual as a no-cost option, which is pretty sweet. The starting point is thus $84,480 Canadian, including destination, and this tester has a cool $14,000 in options. This 2025 BMW Z4 manual is in a tough spot. Yes, it is the most fun this car has been in a long time, and it's just more interactive, but it's asking big compromises to get there. You're gonna have to spend more money than some BMW M products that are a lot more powerful. Or if you wanna go the other direction, the Porsche Boxster is still more communicative and more involving. But it also delivers on that love letter to the classic Roadster formula. There aren't a lot of 6-cylinder, 3-pedal open-air experiences left, and when they're gone, that's it. This could be a future collectible, and if you don't feel like waiting until then and whoever does whatever to this car, you should probably get in now while you still can.